Hi everyone, we're back from our trip to Florida. We had a great time, but it also meant that I had no time to edit. So with Tracy and Daryl's permission, I'm just going to give everybody a little tour of the studio apartment we've been staying in, and also a little tour of the actual property. So stay tuned. We're Chris and Sandra. In 2022, we bought a boat we named Thataway. On a foggy May morning, we said goodbye to Port Dover and headed down Lake Erie through the Welland Canal and on to Lake Ontario. We had a summer of fun boat projects and explored Lake Ontario and the famous Canadian Heritage Canal System, the Trent-Severn Waterway. We met some great people and saw amazing sights in beautiful Ontario. We've got plans to overhaul the interior of Thataway in the spring, so join two not-so-young kids as we dive headfirst into our 2023 adventure. So I'm standing at the top of the driveway, and it's actually very steep. When we first got here, we would probably come out of the driveway a couple times a day, walking of course. And the first time I did it, my heartbeat was about 140 beats per minute. And then lately it's been about 108. So this little hill here has been whipping us into shape. It's actually a really steep driveway, and Chris likes to run down it now, but I'm not too keen on it, but I give it a try. Don't need any more broken bones. Here's the car rental from our trip to Florida. We have to return that tomorrow. And here's the driveway. What's hard to see right here is that all the buildings are on a ravine going down to Big Creek. And Big Creek drains into the Chattahoochee River. But I'll show you a bit more of that in a second. So the building right in front of us is the studio. One of the previous owners had a wife who was an artist, and she really wanted a studio, which is why it's called a studio. But the story is that he loved his cars, so what he really built was a garage for his cars and then the studio on top of it. Lucky for us, it's quite nice inside. And it's starting to rain. So coming down the driveway, I'm going to do a little bit of a tour of the other buildings here, but not the main house. So there's a garden shed there. Let's go down to my gargoyle. On the outside of it, you see the gargoyle. And when there's a bit of moisture or rain around the building, it collects in the pipes, and then this fellow here spits it out. And you can tell on the ground that it's been a little bit wet here. But the significance of this is that when we had the cold spell right before Christmas, Tracy texted me and said, the gargoyle spit up some ice, well, water, and it's frozen, so be careful when you're walking down here to do laundry. So 20 minutes later, I walked down here to do laundry, swapped the laundry, came traipsing back, hit the ice, slipped, and broke my arm, which led to some interesting forays into American healthcare.
You're not the policyholder, correct?
No, it's my husband.
Okay. Can I get his first name and last name, please?
Yeah, Christopher Newton.
Spell the last name for me, please.
Yeah, N as in November, E as in Echo, W as in Whiskey, T as in Tango, O as in Oscar, N as in November.
Perfect. And Christopher, is he like Charlie, H like hotel,
Yes.
R like Romeo, I like India, S like Sarah, T like Tango, O like Oscar, P like Papa, H like hotel, E like echo, and R like Romeo.
Yes.
Services and to evaluate any claim, Allianz Global Assistance on behalf of your insurer may need to obtain sensitive personal information such as medical history and medical records from you or your treating physician.
Because we'd never submitted a claim for out-of-country healthcare, we wanted to make sure we did it right. So we called ahead of time to see if we could get direct billing, and generally they were really good. It took probably over an hour to get everything set up and have approval to go to the hospital rather than a clinic because it was Christmas Day. And then about another half hour or so a week later to get the orthopedic surgeon visit set up for the follow-up. But really, all in all, it went fairly well. Yes. Point 1.
Turn left onto Hospital Boulevard, then you will arrive at your destination.
Hospital entrance parking straight ahead.
I may just drop you off and then go try and
I don't know, like, is it going to be...
You have arrived.
So we're just sitting waiting to check in. We're not really supposed to take footage in here, so... So, back up the driveway. You can see a little bit more down the ravine here. It's basically perpetual fall here. I'm sure that Georgians can tell the difference between fall and winter. But for us, it's just fall leaves on the ground all winter, which is fabulous. I'm not complaining at all. We've not had to deal with any snow, which has been amazing. We've seen some deer on the property, lots of smaller animals, squirrels and that kind of thing. The deer surprised us because there was a buck that went through one day. There's also, Tracy and Daryl also had some arborists in to take down some unsafe trees, including one that was really close to the studio. This one right here. So we kind of enjoyed that day. It was pretty noisy, but lots of noise from machines and chainsaws. They also have a little cattle guard here. They don't really call it a cattle guard. I can't remember what they call it, but it basically is for the water runoff underneath. The other thing I should mention, I didn't bring the key to the garage, but Tracy's uncle, who has a car here but lives overseas, graciously allowed us to use it over the winter, and it's been amazing. It's been an absolute convenience for us to be able to go get groceries and to do some hiking outside of the Roswell area. But we don't take it further than a couple hours outside of Roswell because of the wear and tear. So the studio overlooks Big Creek, and at first I thought this was the Chattahoochee River, but it isn't. It's not nearly big enough. And this one actually drains into the Chattahoochee. It used to be called Vickery Creek, and this area is kind of built up around the old mill area, which was, you know, a typical thing here in the south next to rivers, to have mills and communities grown up around them. All right, so a covered porch. I think this would be probably pretty convenient in the summertime with the bugs. But on nights that we've had storms, where it hasn't been too wet, we've sat out here on the patio listening to the storms and watching the lightning. But it gives us a really good view of the ravine. There's double doors here, which again, I imagine in the summertime is quite good because you can open up and make the area much bigger. And the front door. So anybody who's familiar with the Darfield Earthship will recognize these kind of windows, the slanted windows. In this case, it's for the view, not necessarily for the solar gain. These faced east, but gives a great view down into the creek area. So it's a very cozy seating area. As you can see, I brought my knitting with me. Haven't done one stitch since I got here. A sound table with a lamp that I bought at Goodwill. We're going to leave a framed picture of a demolition derby in Campbellford. This is actually where we met Daryl and Tracy. They were docked on the city dock just in front of us, and we kind of nodded hello to them, but ended up ahead of them in the lineup for the demolition derby in Campbellford. So we sat with them, had a great 2 hours, and that's how it all started. Tracy and I kept in touch, and when she heard that we were looking for a place to stay for the winter, once we'd made the decision to put Thataway on the hard in Midland because we couldn't get back to Toronto. She extended the invitation to come down here, and I should say that Southern hospitality is amazing, and it's definitely a thing. It's not just Daryl and Tracy and their families that have welcomed us, but everybody in Roswell and in the state really have been very friendly. Love our coat rack, bunch of shoes, some of them summer shoes because we just got back from Florida. This is sort of my work area, and we just got back, so I've kind of dumped all my stuff on it right now. Kitchen, very well set up. I think Chris just made lunch. It's very well, set up. There wasn't much that we couldn't do here. I have a feeling that Tracy went out and purchased a few appliances. She knows that we do a lot of Instapot cooking. Nice shelves. And a sink, somewhere to put herbs. One of the nice features of this apartment is the furnace, which we haven't lit. There were a couple mornings it might have been nice to have something, but we weren't sure how often the chimney got cleaned, and the last thing we wanted to be were those Canadians that burnt down the Georgians' house. So we haven't lit it. Sleeping area, a monitor, which Chris kind of uses as a second monitor for work. Tracy mentioned that really the living room and perhaps the bedroom could be swapped, which makes some sense because the double doors would then open up into the living room out to the porch. But we haven't really had time or inclination to switch the furniture around. And I quite like being able to sit in the living room right where the view is. Also, a nice sized bathroom. Definitely big enough for our needs. I'm just going to do a 360 around here. So it's small, but bigger than the boat, and about the same size, maybe a little bit smaller than our condo in Toronto. But because of its size, it's really easy to keep clean, and it certainly is just perfect for our needs for the winter. So when Tracy and Daryl thought that they would have us here for the winter, the idea was kind of to have us kind of look after the property while they were gone, because they're actually still doing the loop. Pretty much the day that we arrived here, they had boat issues. And it's only been in the last couple weeks here at the end of January that they've managed to get those resolved, and they're back on the loop, which wasn't great for them, but certainly great for us. We got to get to know them quite a bit. We spent New Year's Eve with them. We were supposed to go to her family's Christmas dinner, but we're in the hospital instead at the ER. A couple weekends ago, when their boat was getting going again, they invited us up to the Chattanooga area, and we spent 2 days on the water on Little Blue Tea. And Daryl quite bravely gave me some boat lessons. As he said, it's sometimes better to have a non-spouse directing that kind of operation. And it was very nice to be on a really new boat and to get that boat up to plane. Chris and I both got to drive the boat. We had a really nice lunch, anchored out, and some really good conversations. I have to say that with Tracy and Daryl, we do laugh a lot. It's been a really nice friendship. And I hope that it continues, even though we are headed back to Canada soon.
Silly. That came with the boat, you guys did? No.
So as you can tell, this episode's turned into a big thank you card for Tracy and Daryl. We just can't thank them enough for the opportunity they gave us to come and live in Georgia for a little while, the fabulous accommodations, lending us some of their relatives on occasion, and really just allowing us to get to know another part of the world for a little while. Plus side, didn't have to shovel snow, always a bonus. So, it really takes special people to do that, to invite people into their home after only 2 hours of acquaintance. And I really have to commend them for that, because it must have been a little bit of a leap. I know from our perspective, it was a bit of a leap accepting it, but I think we had an easier job of it. So I would really encourage people, whether you're cruising on a boat or just in regular life, to open yourself up to connections like that, it's so rewarding. And so Tracy and Daryl are still in the loop. So if you happen to be looping right now and run into them, please say hi to us. But please keep your hands off, because Tracy and Daryl are our people. See you later.